Hello, everybody. I'm Robert Franz, music director of the Windsor Symphony Orchestra, and I am here today with my friend Nikki Chooi. Nikki, welcome.
Hi, Robert. How are you doing?
Doing so well. I am so excited that you are going to be joining me and the members of the WSO on this very stage here at the Capitol Theater. And we're going to be performing Sibelius's Violin Concerto. And I definitely want to talk about that in a moment. But I want to start with you from the beginning. How did you choose the violin? How did that all begin for you?
So both my parents are not musical. My dad's he's in software. My mother, she studied math at university, but and then she took care of us. But music was not anywhere close to our family. It began as a hobby. I played sports. I did gymnastics, soccer, baseball, and violin was just something I did. Obviously, it was something I was it excelled in the quickest. That's why I progressed further and further. And it was pretty apparent early on that sports was not my thing. So that kind of fell through. But music kept going, and with more interest, gained a love for it, and a lot of opportunities came out of that. So that's how I started the violin.
Oh, that's really awesome. Now, when was that change for you of like, okay, now what I'm going to do is music for the rest of my life?
Sure. So when I was 13 or 14 years old, I was invited to attend a week-long masterclass series held at the Juilliard School of Music. So I was super excited coming from Victoria, British Columbia. I've never been to a city anything like New York City before. And I remember meeting Itzhak Perlman, David Kim, and Akiko Myers, just
Wow.
violinists that I would just, have recordings of. I never met them in person before, but there they were right there. And I said hi and spoke to them. I remember after that week, I told my dad I just didn't want to leave. So, it took a few years before I could actually attend Juilliard, but, that's where I did my master's. And that was, I would say, if there was a point where I decided I wanted to become a musician as a career, as a lifelong pursuit, that was that moment.
And when that moment happened, or that around that time, what kind of hours were you putting in each day practicing the violin?
Sure. I would say practicing the violin. I would say maybe 3 hours a day during the weekdays. Weekends maybe a little bit more, 3 to 4 hours, something like that. It would be after school. Obviously, I would go to school from 8 to 3 p.m. Couple hours of homework, and then let's say 6:30 to 9:30 would be with breaks in between. But that was my practice time. So yeah.
Wow, that
Yeah.
sounds very dedicated. So when you got out of college, when you finished Juilliard and Curtis, you then
Yeah.
sort of entered the circuit for competitions, right?
Sure.
Tell
Sure.
us a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So
What's it like to be in a violin competition?
it's so you can look at it, in a couple of different ways. Obviously, for what it is as a competition where whoever plays the best gets the prize. But for me, it was an opportunity to kind of set a goal. Like I would do, let's say Tchaikovsky competition, and the repertoire required for it. I would really take a deep dive into it, get a performance ready. And that process in preparing for the competition was what was most valuable to me. Um, I found that every time I prepared for a big one, whether it was, Tchaikovsky, Queen Elizabeth, Michael Hill, my my playing just improved a lot just by studying the repertoire that intensely. I guess the technical part of it, just really submerging myself into that repertoire for a good 6 months or sometimes even more. So you know despite the results, whatever, I was lucky to have done well in a few, not so well in a few, but overall the experience and what I got out of it, especially preparing for it, the process, preparing for it was invaluable.
Now, you are currently the concert master of the Buffalo Philharmonic, which is where you and I met a few years ago when I conducted a concert there. But you were
Yeah,
previously concert master of the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. What was your first
yeah.
job? And take us through to getting to the Met. That's a pretty exciting adventure.
Yes, I mean it was very very exciting. So after school and after doing doing a few competitions and getting a few opportunities out of that, my career kind of took many different forms. For a time I was playing a lot of recitals, a lot of chamber music, a lot of concertos. Love that. Love meeting new people everywhere. And for a short period of time, I was actually part of the ensemble Time for Three, where it's a multi-genre ensemble, played many different kinds of music, and most recently they actually won a wonderful Grammy Award. So I'm so proud of them. So I was part of their, I was one of their violinists for part of the year. So that was super exciting, to be able to be performing with musicians who had so much life and authenticity and originality. So that was really thrilling. And then an opportunity came up at the Met, where they had a position for a 1 year position as concertmaster of the Met, and I was like, oh wow, what an opportunity to be able to come into a place and hear some of the best voices in the world, every single day. So I learned so much in terms of artistry, in terms of musicality, in terms of how I approach my sound. It was a really wonderful experience there. I had a great time.
Well, and you are currently, as I mentioned, concertmaster of the Buffalo Philharmonic, which, as you know, I was the resident conductor of for 4 years, and also had the great pleasure of working with the incomparable Joanne Falletta. Tell us a little bit about your
Yeah.
position at the Buffalo Philharmonic and the kinds of things that you do. I know that orchestra records all of the time.
Yes. Yes. I mean, my my position as concertmaster of the Buffalo Philharmonic, it's really wonderful. I absolutely love my colleagues there, and Joanne Falletta is just a joy to be able to work with, to be able to learn from her, to be able to be a colleague of hers. It's something I'm extremely grateful to be part of. And yes, the season is very busy. There's a lot of recording projects, a lot of exciting things that we do. It's pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, and even during pandemic, we kept active. We were doing smaller ensemble stuff, which was super fun to be able to do. So yes, I've been very happy since I joined the orchestra since 2019.
Well, we are thrilled that Joanne has given you the week off to come here to Windsor to perform the Sibelius Violin Concerto, which is, I think, arguably one of the main top five concertos, let's say, of all the violin repertoire. It's such an incredible
Yeah.
piece of music. I know when it was originally written in 1904 that many considered it to be unplayable. And, Sibelius, even the composer, decided, okay, I'm going to go back and sort of tweak it a little bit and sort of fix it, if you will, make it a little bit more playable. Tell us a little bit about this concerto and your experience with it in preparing it and in performing it.
Sure, sure. Actually, the Sibelius Concerto is uh, this concerto means a lot to me. It's probably one of my very first concertos that I played with a major orchestra. It was with the Montreal Symphony when I was 14 years old. I had played in many different places since then, but it's what I remember when I first heard it was at a summer festival, and when the students was playing it, I absolutely fell in love with it, both for its intensity, the colors it's able to develop in the piece, the melodies, the virtuosity. It was like this amazing piece with everything that a violinist can ask for. It really shows a lot. Gives the violinist an opportunity to show what they're capable of. And yes, so actually, when I come to Windsor, I'll be performing that concerto, and then a couple weeks later, I'll be performing the Sibelius concerto as well in Buffalo. So it'll be nice to be able to do it, in a short span of time, and with you and with Maestro Joanne Falletta as well. So
That is
yeah.
so, it's an amazing piece of music. And I have to say that for the conductor and for the orchestra, it's in some ways as tricky as it is for the violinist. It's a very challenging concerto to put together because the way Sibelius composed it and sort of crafted it is sort of almost like through thought, like he just kind of keeps changing and morphing into something new, and it doesn't have the same sort of solid structure that, say, like a Mozart concerto does, although the structure is under there. It's certainly hidden over the top. Tell us a little bit about the challenge of putting together this concerto with an orchestra that you don't know.
Sure, sure. Actually, that's a really interesting question because being concertmaster, I've had the opportunity to, play as soloist and in the orchestra as well. And especially the first time when I played it in from within the orchestra, playing the tutti part, I realized how challenging it was, for both the orchestra and the conductor, and furthermore the soloist. And like you said, there's a lot of things that kind of flow into each other. Rhythm is in a more grand kind of feeling, and to get everyone on the same page requires a lot of trust, a lot of sense of collaboration between conductor, soloist, and orchestra, right?
Yeah.
So I'm super looking forward to be able to collaborate with you and the WSO on this.
Well, so
Yeah.
one of the things that's interesting is for the first movement, for our audience members, they may find that Sibelius sort of creates a bit of a soundscape. He sort of takes you on this journey, and you almost get sort of a visual of Finland and the cold, and this sort of grandness. But the last
Yeah.
movement's quite different, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about the last movement, because it is for sure like the opposite of that musically.
Yes, yes, for sure. Um, the last movement is yum, ba, ba, bum, ba, ba. It's got such strong um, rhythmic integrity, as opposed to what you said about the first movement, where it was there's a lot of polyrhythms, there's a lot of you know I wouldn't say murky, but just it's there's a certain freedom that's allowed,
Yeah.
in the first movement, and obviously freedom in terms of you know feeling it together. But in the last movement, it's just bum 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 bum. It's almost relentless. You got to be super precise. Everybody has to be feeling the same pulse at the same time, and obviously the solo violin part is very extremely virtuosic, and it's like a gymnastics kind of show there, with lots of arpeggios, lots of double stops, but when done effectively, it's a very exciting movement.
So let's get into the weeds just for 1 second for our violin students, because I know we have violin students who are going to be watching this video. In the last movement,
Okay.
there's this wonderfully difficult passage. I only know this from the times I've conducted it, watching the violinist and the looks on their faces, where they have to play these thirds going up. Da, 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 da. Talk to us about how you practice that particular section. To me, that seems like one of the scariest places in the whole concerto.
Yes, it is. It's first of all, it's you've got a challenging pattern of left hand thirds that it's double stops, having to play two notes at once in fast succession, which makes it trickier, and also going up the violin to places that are very high up. So that's one part of it. But then the right hand, he requires, up bow staccato, which is again one of the most challenging bow techniques there is. For those of you who might not know what up bow staccato is, it's when you play very fast with super fast articulation in one direction of the bow. So it creates this really effective, kind of,
Yeah.
very exciting. Oops, sorry.
No. So basically what you're saying is that the two most difficult things you can do on the left hand and the right hand, Sibelius asks you to do them at once.
Exactly, yeah. And you can master one part of it, the left hand, you can master the right hand, but to put it together, that's a new challenge in itself.
That's awesome.
So in the concert, look out for it. We get 4 chances. It happens 4 times in the movement. So hopefully I get, at least one of them okay.
Well, I have no doubt that you're going to get all 4 of them just fine. I'm super excited. When I made music with you at the Buffalo Phil 4 or 5 years ago, I thought this is a guy who's a really fantastic musician. And so I am thrilled that you accepted our offer and are coming to Windsor to perform the Sibelius. Nikki, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And we look forward to your performance.
Thank you so much, Robert. Likewise, I had such an enjoyable time working with you 5 years ago, and I really can't wait to be in Windsor with you.
We'll do it soon. Take care.
Looking forward. Take care.